Welcome to the Wisdom Path workshop. This is a workshop just to introduce you to a new curriculum, a new Tapestry of Faith curriculum. If you are not interested in the Wisdom Path, which is the new curriculum about money and our relationship, our spiritual relationship with money, you may be in the wrong place. So welcome. We're not going to do a challenge study. Hi, Ann.
Hi.
Come on in.
Thank you.
So, money. Money is a really big topic. One of us is not necessary. You guys want to switch you up here? It's okay. You can go on, Brad. Money is a big topic, and it is a topic that really sort of provokes sometimes anxiety. It's a difficult topic to talk about, and yet it's everywhere. It's something, we're sort of swimming in this world of money and not enough and not enough. And our congregations in particular, many of them have been challenged. Is anybody challenged in money? Good, okay. All right, anybody not challenged with money, I guess is the question. But is anybody finding it hard to talk about? Is money easy to talk about in your congregation?
No.
Okay. And what do you think that's about?
People don't want to hear about it.
They don't want to hear about it.
I think there's also a sort of traditional thing that it's not polite to talk about money.
Yeah.
Somebody actually just resigned from our church because of something related to money, talking about it.
Confidentiality of pledges.
Exactly.
Wow.
Confidentiality issues.
Okay.
Quit.
I was surprised. I pledged my daughter, and
You pledged your daughter?
Yeah. No, she was my
Giving up the firstborn?
Well, no. I didn't mean I pledged her.
That's
to
very
church,
generous.
I
Very
did my canvas with her.
I got you.
And
I was just kidding you.
I was surprised. She just burst into tears. I mean, it was obviously tapping into a whole emotional thing that I was clueless about. Because I had no trouble talking about money. She's grown up, but she was just bawling over this. Yeah. And she said, "Mom, I just don't have time. I've got so much going on." And I'm like, "Whoa, just write the damn check, for God's sake." It's a whole lot easier. But it was surprising how deep that, whatever I tapped into was really deep.
Yeah. So for some people, money is just there's a very strong, visceral, emotional reaction to even talking about it. And some of those, the emotions behind that are embarrassment. I don't make enough. I don't want to pledge, or I don't want to. I don't really have enough. I don't want to tell you how much I make because I probably make less than you. So there's shame, there's embarrassment, there's fear. I don't know, if I can really pledge that much because, I'm having a hard enough time as it is paying my own bills. So there's a lot of really negative emotions that can sometimes overtake us in our conversations with money. Hello, Esther.
Hi.
So it's a big topic, and we're not going to really have a long, extensive conversation about that. Really what I want to do is introduce you to a resource that may be able to help you have those kinds of conversations and to help folks, delve into some deeper issues around money and their relationship with money. So I'll just momentarily introduce myself. I am Patricia Infante. I am the SURGE, Central East Regional Group Faith Development Consultant. I was working for the federal government. I had a great job. I was successful. I was climbing that ladder. Wow, I was moving up. And then I had a son, and then I had another son, and then I thought, wow, there's something out of whack with my life. And about that time, my mother, who is an active UU as well, went to General Assembly in, I think it was Phoenix, in 1994. And she brought me back a book called Your Money or Your Life by an author named Vicki Robin and the late Joe Dominguez. And I loved that book, and that book was really transformative for me personally. And it was from that that I decided that, hey, I really don't want to be buying and selling weapons for the federal government. I really want to do something more connected to my values and connected to my Unitarian Universalist core values. And that led me to religious education, and, woo, here I am. So I kind of had this personal interest in money. During the time that I was serving in a congregation, a couple of things happened. The minister that I was serving with at the time, she used to do an annual service on New Year's Day. She was from New Orleans, and she would do this jazz funeral service. And it was fabulous. We did this for a number of years, and we would actually have the local, what do you call it? Place where they take
Funeral home?
Funeral home, yes.
Okay.
The local funeral home would bring a casket in, and we would have a jazz band, and we would do, the whole jazz funeral. And we would ask people, we'd give people slips of paper, and we would ask them to write their regrets and write things and throw it into the casket of things that they wanted to let go of from the old year. This was a New Year's service. And for 2 years in a row, after the service was done, the minister and I, we would, Monday morning, we'd secrete ourselves off in the office and begin to look through some of those things, to just sort of look for, what are the pastoral, take the pastoral pulse of the congregation. And the shock was how many of those regrets were related to money. People had lost businesses, their relationships had broken up, they were in debt, they didn't know how they were going to get out of debt, they didn't know how they were going to, one guy had maxed out his credit cards to try and support a small business. And what we felt was there was so much pain in the congregation around things related to money. And it was really kind of eye-opening for us. After that, and that happened a couple years in a row, by the way. And of course, some of those things, there were pastoral issues that the minister and the pastoral folks took care of. But I was the religious educator, and so I created a little curriculum, about like a 4-week curriculum. Just sort of, I called it Speaking of Money, is what I called it. And I just did a little small group ministry thing where we got together and we talked about some of the issues and some of the stories and some of our childhood experiences and our childhood understandings of money. And it was really successful. And from that I kind of began a little personal ministry where I worked with several people in the congregation to help them get out of debt, to help them change their relationship with money. That experience led me to become involved in the Wisdom Path Project. A group of folks from the President's Council decided that, we really need a vehicle. We need something to give people an opportunity to talk about money and to, sort of take away some of the mystery and some of the fear and some of the shame and some of the really negative things. Because money is a tool. Money is a construct of man. Of human. So we created this Wisdom Path. It was intended to sort of be OWL for money. So it's really, it's a life skill kind of a values-based life skills curriculum, of which we don't really have that many in Unitarian Universalism. Most of our curricula are, it's all about here, faith like a river and what moves us, and we're going to think and talk about theology and history and social justice. But we don't have a lot of things that really talk about practical life skills. What are the things that I really need to help me be whole, to help me get to where I need to be so that I can be spiritually whole. So I'm going to just introduce you to the curriculum, kind of tell you what the sessions are about. We're going to do a quick little exercise. Has anybody done OWL or familiar with the OWL curriculum? Okay, a few of you are. Okay, OWL is Our Whole Lives, which is our sexuality education curriculum. It's been around since 2001, I think. there's an exercise in OWL, if you've ever been involved with the junior and senior high level of OWL, where you take a newsprint and you come up with all of the names for the genitals that you can think of. And it's this exercise that's supposed to get rid of some of the anxiety and some of the giggliness, and it's supposed to help the kids kind of move through and see that, you know what, they're just words. And so we're going to do a little exercise like that with money. We're going to think about all the different names for money. I'm going to talk a little bit about ways to use the curriculum. It is 12 sessions, and I hear all the words, I hear all the gears grinding and saying, oh my God, how am I going to do 12 sessions? So we'll talk a little bit about, perhaps ways that you can use that other than just 12 in a row. And then if we have time, we're going to do just an exercise around money and the generations. What are the differences between the generations? And that just is sort of to tie us in with some of the stuff that Carrie McDonald talked about in the keynote. So that's what we're up to. That's what we're doing for today. So the Wisdom Path, and I'm going to make this available to you. Andrea will make this available to you through the Metro New York website, this PowerPoint. So you don't need to take any notes. And probably most everything that's on this PowerPoint is actually on uua.org. So the curriculum is part of the Tapestry of Faith programs. And anybody using Tapestry of Faith? Does anybody is not familiar or not know for sure? Tapestry of Faith is online curriculum, uua.org. It's all ages, and there are over 20 different curricula for children and for youth and for adult. And they have a particular mission and a particular theme and a particular structure, which I'll talk about a little bit. So this is available to all of us for free online. So and that's the link there for that. So the Wisdom Path is about exploring the place of money in our personal and community lives. And I know that some people say, well, is the Wisdom Path going to tell me how to make the pledge drive go better? No. Is the Wisdom Path going to help us really have a successful capital campaign? Maybe, because what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to help people do the personal work and to connect their values with their money. And so there may be some indirect impact on the way that money is talked about and the way that folks are able to sort of express their generosity. But it's not specifically about pledging and how to make stewardship better. It's really about our own personal work. So we're gonna in the Wisdom Path, we will talk about our own histories. We'll talk about our own money stories. And so with Wisdom Path, one of the things that is really going to be important is the less anxious presence of the leaders, and also training for the leaders. And I'll talk about a little bit about training for the leaders. But there is spiritual preparation for the leaders. That's a really important part of the Tapestry of Faith series, is that there's always spiritual preparation for the leaders. But we're going to tell our money stories here. And some of those stories are pretty straightforward, and some of them are filled with pain. There's going to be some stuff about wealth, and we're going to talk a little bit about some philosophical stuff, and we're going to also talk about the effect of the decisions we make as individuals on the wider world, because money talks. Isn't that one of the things that we hear? The values speak in the way that we spend our money, and there's a lot of tension for us in that, because we really, really believe in the social justice. For example, the idea of a fair wage. I think that's probably really tuned into the core theological value of Unitarian Universalists, and yet we want to go to Walmart, or we want to go to a place where that may not provide a living wage. We're going to eat at Chili's or Red Lobster or places like that. So we're faced with these tensions in our lives, and it's not about making us feel guilty. Many of us carry around enough guilt as it is around our relationship with money, but it's just about sort of talking about it. And it's okay to talk about it. And then it ends with kind of creating a personal credo around money. One of the most interesting things, I think one of the exercises is like, what is your definition of financial independence? And that's a fascinating thing to do, because it's very different. You know, financial independence doesn't mean that I have enough money to do everything I want to do. To some people, it means I can go to the grocery store and I don't have to count every penny. That to me is financial freedom. So there's some exercises where we talk a little bit about that and what it means to really be sort of living an ethically healthy life. So that's just a taste of what it does. You can't read that. But the only thing I wanted to point out here is the Tapestry of Faith curriculum does have a vision for itself, and the focus really of Wisdom Path is on these first two. All people are lovable beings of infinite worth. We're obligated to use our gifts, talents, and potentials in the service of life, and that we carry our heritage and are part of a community of faith that has value and provides resources for living. So, you know, having a healthy relationship with money is a resource for living a faithful life. All right. Tapestry of Faith is based on 4 strands, and you will find all 4 of these in Wisdom Path. So we're going to talk about, you know, ethical choices with money. We are going to talk about, you know, kind of what is the spiritual impact of not having enough money, of not feeling that I have that, you know, I'm doing the work that I need to be doing, that I have chosen a career based on how much it pays rather than the values that I espouse. We're going to talk a little bit about the 4 strands, the Unitarian Universalist identity strand, and you know, this is just connecting us to the stream, the living stream, and to some of the you know, there's a lot of really, really interesting history for Unitarians and Universalists around classism. And I mean, if you go back to, you know, we got the Boston
Brahmins.
Yes, thank you. I was going to say elite, but that's a good word too. The Boston Brahmins versus the rural farmers, you know, the circuit riding ministers of the Universalists and the Iowa Sisterhood out on the Iowa plains. You know, so we have some very different roots in terms of what folks understood about money and how it impacted their lives. So there's a lot of interesting history there. And we're also going to talk about faith development. And so what does this mean for me? You know, what can I learn from having a healthy relationship with money? You know, we don't even know really what the impact of money is on us at some level, because we swim in it. It's just, you know, it's everything we do depends on money. Almost everything that we do depends on money. And that's really only been about, I think about the last 4,000 years of human history. We've had some kind of currency. So that's not like, it's not a given for our species. It's just something we created. So the Tapestry of Faith, if you're interested in leading this in your congregation, I love the Tapestry of Faith structure, whether using the children's or the youth or the adult. It always has an opportunity for leaders to do some spiritual preparation. So that could take different forms. Hopefully something like Wisdom Path, it would be probably really great if you had co-leaders. And so you might have those co-leaders, you know, do some of the activities with one another in advance of the lesson. There might be some questions for reflection for the leaders prior. There might be some resources, some reading, some optional reading that the leaders could do to kind of prepare them for what might come up, what might emerge in a particular session. Story is central to all of Tapestry of Faith. We sometimes, you know, story is how we understand the world around us sometimes. And so there are stories, there are wisdom tales in Tapestry of Faith, in Wisdom Path. There are, I'm a co-author, and so my co-author and I wrote separate. We didn't write like the whole thing all together. We each wrote separate workshops. So when I stand here and say I think, it's because I'm not remembering my co-author's work. I remember my own. So there's a children's story in one. So there's always a story that kind of gives us that focusing idea. It's the focusing big idea. There is a lot of reflection and personal story. We will be sharing personal stories about money when we take this curriculum. But there's a lot of journaling. There are a few activities with making some art response activities where we hear a story, or maybe we talk about some really difficult things. Maybe about some things around classism and diversity, and then we do some art to kind of give ourselves another way of expressing some of the things that are roiling inside of us. There's lots of alternative activities, and if you've used Tapestry of Faith, most of them are based on a 90-minute workshop. Now, 90 minutes is a lot, okay? And if you want to have a cup of coffee or a cookie in the middle, if you're doing it at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, you might want to create some social aspect to it. So it's very much mix and match, and that's the way all of Tapestry of Faith is constructed. There are also in one of the chapters that I wrote, there's actually, you can forego the whole workshop, basically the whole workshop, and watch a movie. And you could have that movie with the whole congregation, and then come back together as a Wisdom Path class and talk about that movie. So there's lots of different ways that you can kind of go through the learning. There's a take it home piece to every workshop. So, it's just like we say with the kids, we don't learn everything we need to know in 1 hour a week. There's stuff that happens on the other 6 days of the week. And so in some of them, there's an activity, a take-it-home activity, like, track how much you spend for the next week or the next month. There are take-it-home activities about writing, looking at your local newspaper and looking for articles that have kind of tell some underlying story about classism. And so there's different kinds of activities for doing at home outside of the group, and just to kind of, to reinforce what you've done with the curriculum, but also to just kind of keep you in tune with it and to integrate it more into your life. And then Faith in Action is projects that the group as a whole may do. So you may write letters to your local council. There's a lot of stuff that happens around local budgets and things like that. And we talk about that. We have an exercise around, kind of going and sitting in on your local town council meeting and listening for different class or race or other kinds of, sort of oppression that is manifest through the way they spend their money. Or to do a service. Sometimes there are things about doing a service as a group. So that's how the Tapestry of Faith structure kind of plays out in Wisdom Path. So there are 12 different workshops. The first 3 are about ourselves. We start out talking a little bit about our families. There's an exercise where we talk about different money proverbs. Who knows a money proverb?
Penny saved is a penny.
Penny saved is a penny earned. Good.
Neither a borrower nor a lender be.
Good one. More?
Money is the root of all evil.
Oh, money is the root of all evil. That's a good one. Yeah. Boy, what a theological conversation is embedded in that one phrase, really. So we have a little exercise around money proverbs. And we also create our own money stories, and we do share them. There is an opportunity in the first session for covenanting and for creating some boundaries around how we're sharing and how the information kind of doesn't go beyond the room. So money in self is the first three, and then it is money in society, and we're going to talk about economic justice issues. We're going to talk about classism, and we're going to delve a little bit into congregational issues. I know we have one exercise where it's kind of like a case study thing, and it's the board president made this decision, and and it's fun. It's a fun case study because you just read it and you're like, oh God. It resonates with you in a really uncomfortable way. So we kind of, again, we're moving beyond. We're moving to the bigger questions. And we're going to talk about like fair exchange and sort of those kinds of the consumer decisions that we make, and what it means to buy local, and how important is that. And then we're going to end with the final 5 workshops, which is sort of taking on some of the spiritual aspects of our relationship with money, and kind of really, what does our Unitarian Universalist, what do our UU values tell us about this story or this situation or this kind of tension that has to do with money, and to really to really connect what we think, what we say, what we believe with what we do. And I just recently had a conversation with my mother, who said that when she was I think she was a teenager, she first went to the First Unitarian Church in Toledo, Ohio, and she had a conversation with a minister who said to her, "Don't tell me what you believe. Tell me what you do, and I'll tell you what you believe." Which is really powerful, and I'm not sure that he was the first one to say it, but my mother told the story, so I take it on faith. But a lot of times, that's a really difficult spiritual tension for us, is that we want to do the right thing, and we hear what our values are telling us, and yet we're just, there are barriers for us. So those are the 3 big ideas in that. I'm just going to talk a little bit about kind of the first couple. We're in the first one, we talk about money. Why do we want to even talk about money? What's important about money? Well, it's everywhere, and it's important, and it's used as, it has coercive power, and it has power to do good as well. And money is, it can be a really important factor in living kind of a successful and fulfilled life. And that's not just about how much you have. It's about sort of what your relationship is with it, and if you have enough. Has anybody ever heard about the oh gosh, what's it called? It's a chart of the fulfillment curve. The fulfillment curve, if you've seen that, where there's a point at which money makes us happy, and then we get to a point where we have this much money, and all of a sudden it's not making us happy anymore. So there is this idea that we have to find where's the sweet spot for us, and if we're doing work that we don't love, but yet we're making a lot of money, how do we resolve that within our spiritual heart? It's not. This course isn't about like money, like practical advice so much. There are some links and stuff to a number of different tools for you to do some exploration of how things could be different and how you can use your money. But this is really more spiritually oriented. So now we're going to do the names for money exercise. We're going to take about 5 minutes or so, and we'll just, this is just to wake you up now. Maybe to wake me up too, I don't know. So let's think about names for money, and don't even read all of that. Just tell me what you can think of. When you think of different slang names for money, what do you think of? I'll write some down.
Cash.
Cash. Bucks.
Bucks.
Moolah.
Moolah.
Dough and bread.
Dough and bread.
All right.
Kale and cabbage.
Wow.
Or
Kale.
green, if you want to add that.
Yeah, kale.
Kale,
and
cabbage, green.
Green. Wow.
Shekels.
Shekels.
Cheddar or cheese?
Cheddar
Benjamin's.
Benjamin's.
Gold, silver, coppers, the
Gold.
metals.
Gold, silver,
Copper,
copper.
things like that.
Yeah.
Loot. Loot.
Swag.
Swag.
Wow.
Lucre.
Lucre.
Sometimes called filthy, but lucre.
That's good.
You're earlier one, the root of all evil.
Root of all evil. Yes. Root of all evil.
Rather different. It's what you bring home, the bacon.
The bacon.
Oh, bring him the bacon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wherewithal.
Wherewithal.
Ooh.
Funds.
Funds.
Currency.
Currency.
Resources.
The one that always gets me is disposable income.
Oh, yeah, disposable income. Disposable income. Interesting.
Yeah, another one I always like is when you're fundraising, you're doing development.
Ah.
You're a development expert.
Yeah, I know. That's, yeah, lots of code words there, right?
Yeah.
And you seek support, right?
Right.
So support is the euphemism for the money itself
Yeah.
we're looking for.
Development.
Wow.
You don't say
support.
you want cash from people, you want support.
Yeah.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, when we were doing our canvas recently, some people were asking, what is a canvas? What are you talking about?
Yeah, canvas.
I guess pledge is money.
Pledge,
right?
yeah.
Pledge is a word we use a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Money.
yeah, yeah.
Coin of the realm.
Coin of the realm.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Coin of the realm.
Public assistance.
Value. Value.
Value. It's interesting how lots of financial terms seep into our popular culture, isn't it? I can't
Yeah.
tell you, if you sit and start listening, to like CNN or, value proposition. How many times do you hear that in the media? Value proposition. What is that about? Anything else? These are good ones.
Salary.
Salary.
Salary comes from the word salt,
Yes.
because salt was very valuable.
Yes. Right.
Worth your so you have to be worth your
Worth
Worth your salt.
Yeah,
Wages.
of sin. Wages of sin.
Earnings.
Wages, earnings. Okay. Wow. So, do any stories emerge from this crazy collection of words and terms? Anything jump out at you?
Well, one, I'm seeing a lot of food. As
So-
in a kind of sustenance.
Sustenance, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a sustenance
Definitely.
theme. Yeah.
Your daily bread.
Your daily bread. Yeah, yeah.
Give us
Sort of-
this day.
I mean, there's a whole meal there: bread, salt, bacon, greens,
Kale.
cheese. And
Cheese.
All the food groups are there.
Yeah, yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah. So there is a sustenance theme. I mean, part of how money began, it began out of, I'm the wheat farmer and you're the pig farmer, and, how can we make this, I don't want to grow pigs. I don't,
Barter.
Yeah, so it started with barter, and then things became representative. Greenbacks is another one. Yeah. What other stories? So the food and the sustenance really jumped out at us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was also thinking that there's a whole like illegal aspect. Maybe it's not represented there, but I'm sort of thinking of swag or
Booty.
I don't know, stash or hooch.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
I don't know what some of those things are.
Loot
Like
is a
loot,
good one for that.
yeah.
So there's sort of this criminal.
Yeah, there's definitely a criminal element.
Yeah, that's interesting.
A lot of slang words that we've created.
Yeah, a lot of slang that we created around money.
I guess for me, I see gold, silver, copper, and I see commodities, and then I find it despicable that commodities is also being linked with food, which
Right.
is sustenance.
Hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Great. Coin of the realm, little historical
Yeah.
thing there. The canvas and the pledge. I'm not sure where those terms come from.
Yeah, well,
Do you know?
another one, pledge is sort of interesting because a big sort of flip side of money is debt.
Yes,
There's a nice
absolutely.
book by some anthropologist about before money there was debt,
Right.
and they marked in ancient civilizations what people owed before they ever circulated coinage. At least that's his claim.
Yeah.
And somehow pledge and debt, a lot of sort of a moral sense of money that some of them have in a negative way, some of these terms have in a positive way, but big moral themes with money.
Yeah, I was also thinking about sort of movement, exchange, right? Currency, disposable. It's like there's movement with money because that's. I mean, that's something where, like, I look at my bank balance and, wow, I've got so much money. But no, I don't really have money because it's all going to move because I have to pay my bills. So,
Disposable.
well,
Right.
Well, it's not done disposing, I'm paying my bills.
Right.
I mean, so, like, movement to me
Movement,
is
yeah.
part of money.
Yeah.
I like bills and bills both mean what you owe, and it's like the paper money back to money and
Right.
debt. Money and debt are sort of the same thing.
Right.
Right.
Bills and
bills. Yeah. So the flip side.
Another cool thing, I don't know whether anybody knows this, but I love, like somebody said, Benjamins. Like other countries, like a lot of countries have, famous people. Like in China where I was, they have Mao on everything. And I wonder whether they talk about Mao's or Elizabeth's if you're in the UK, or whether I'm just sort of curious.
Yeah,
like
what-
Canada, I think they talk about loonies.
Yes.
Which is
loonies.
like in Canada they're pretty mellow, right? They're not
It's a
so
bird.
into fame and stuff, as maybe
Yeah, it's
we
a
are.
bird.
But just wondering about sort of
Yeah.
money and sort of like, I don't know, the rulers of a country or the sort of distinguished people. There's at least in our country we have that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, so we have lots of different terms for money. So why do you think that is so? What does that say about us and our relationship with money that we've created all of these euphemisms, as a word somebody used? It's important. But there's an element of something where we don't want to call it what it is. We want to give it a code name because why do we want to do that? I love dough and bread. Those are two of my favorites because that makes me think of remember the movie It's a Wonderful Life where he puts a couple dollar bills in a basket and he says, Mama dollar and daddy dollar. We need money or the bank's going to close. So this idea of money growing is kind of entertaining for me. So this is one of the exercises in the actual curriculum. Mm-hmm. So you would have an opportunity to do this, and it's just it's not something that's going to be sort of going to create a lot of tension in folks. It's just part of the loosening up and getting folks comfortable with talking about money in a different way. So I want to take another opportunity to just talk to you about how you might use Wisdom Path in your congregation. As I said, there are 12 workshops, and we think every one of them are just absolutely essential. And we think you should just sign everybody up for the next 12 weeks, but we know that is probably less than realistic. So it is ideal to really offer them all 12 in a row. So one a month, one every 3 weeks. You could do, I don't know if you are, some congregations, a little more advanced, they might have a fall semester or spring semester. So you might do, some in the fall and some in the spring and break it up a little bit. You can do several workshops in a retreat setting. And if you've done something like OWL, this is something that a lot of times we'll do with the junior senior OWL, because hey, we got 25 sessions we got to fit in, and that's just a lot. So by coming together and making a social event out of it, we can do more at one time. You could do an abbreviated program if you just wanted to, kind of open up hearts and open up some language, avenues of language between folks, maybe leaders. You could do workshops 1 and 2, which is sort of the introduction and our money stories, where we talk about what money has, what are the lessons that we heard from our grandmother or our grandfather or our mothers and our fathers about money. Was money something that there was never enough of? Was money something that nobody talked about? Was it kind of a null curriculum in our home? So you could do 1 and 2, or you could do 1, 2, and 3. Some of the individual workshops, you may be able to use them with leaders in, some of the activities maybe you could pull out to use in a leadership retreat. Just to get people talking, there's a game about sort of economic justice. There's a game with cards and everything, and that would be an interesting thing maybe for a social action group to do. You really want to be careful about choosing leaders for this. Really, honestly, there are a lot of triggers for people in money conversation. And so you hopefully will be finding somebody who's, on the spiritually mature end of the spectrum, somebody that, can manage conversations with some tension, can manage conversations maybe with some friendly conflict, we hope, and hopefully, folks who can manage the potential for emotional reaction in some people. I mean, there might be somebody who tells their money story and there's something very deeply painful associated with that. And so you want to really be careful about how you choose your leaders. In that regard, I just had lunch with my friend, the developmental editor for this curriculum is Gail Forsyth-Vail, who's the director of adult programs at the UUA. And Gail told me that they have got some grant money, and they are going to use that grant money to create a training of trainers guidebook, so that there'll be, and we will do then some training of trainers around the region probably. So there'll be an opportunity for folks who are interested in that to kind of get that training that helps to ground them in their own understanding of their relationship with money in a way that kind of spiritually prepares them to meet others where they are and the potential things that can arise. So the second workshop is about the messages we receive from money, and this, I think this is where we have we have a little thing with all the little money proverbs. We go around and we talk about all the little money proverbs. We're going to talk about how money is spent and how we talk about money in our intimate relationships. And sometimes in the same household, two partners can have totally different ideas and histories and attitudes around how they spend money, whether they're savers or spenders, or lots of different kinds of things. And so it can extend beyond the purpose of money, which is to meet our needs, and it can extend and become part of our relationship, our relationship issues. And we'll talk about our own story of money. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit in, maybe two little groups here, since we have a small group. We had Carrie this morning talked to you about the generations. And there are many ways in which the generations are different, because we have different cultural understandings and different worldviews. And so I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about these two questions. How might your generational experience affect your money attitudes and practices? And then, are there other cultural differences other than generational that you think complicate the way that we talk about money in our congregations? So two questions for you. If you want to do it in pairs, that might give you a little bit more time to chat with one another around those questions. You guys decide. We're grown-ups here. There's generations theory. If you didn't write down everything and have it all committed to memory. So let's take about, what time is it? It's 4:34. So let's take about 10 minutes to talk about these two questions in our groups. Okay? So we have about 10 minutes left. So anybody have anything they want to share? Any good ideas or any good insights?
I just want to ask a question
Sure.
about the flexibility of doing this. You were suggesting do maybe a few things and spread them out.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering about, I'm thinking of from a marketing perspective. I want to attract a bunch of people to come and take the thing. And they say, oh, this is a disguised canvas.
Mm-hmm.
They're just trying to get us in to talk, et cetera, and I don't need to go through that. We're going to do that enough when the campaign comes around. Yeah, sure, some people will be interested, but I was just wondering, is there, do you know of another Tapestry of Faith program or something else which you could pair with this and say, let's do session one of this one and session one of that one, and we'll do them together. Mm-hmm. And so that it really is a personal development or something or other kind of perspective, and it isn't just money. Mm-hmm. And you might do.
You can be as creative as you want to be. Right off the top of my head, I'm trying to, think of what might be a good match. We have
Adult Owl.
Adult Owl, sex and
and
money.
money.
Oh,
Interesting.
man, get any better than that?
Good combination.
Yeah, all right. We'll be smoking weed and serving wine.
What time?
Dealing money.
What about social
There are two
justice?
spirit ones, right? There's one about spiritual practices, and there's
Right.
another one about. But this one actually does that. This is money and spirit.
It is really.
That's
money
why
and
I
spirit,
want to do this one because
Yeah,
it pulls them together.
And people can sign up voluntarily, right?
Yeah,
Like if
yeah.
people are turned off by the idea that this is implicit, softening people up to give more, okay, they don't have to join this workshop.
Yeah.
What I
So-
wish is that this had more like practical tools, like we're going to do a little piece on how to do a family budget.
Right.
You know.
And what this has is it has some links to do that kind of stuff. I mean, we were trying to really not, we were trying to keep it more sort of values, in the values area, the values conversation area, and also felt that there was a lot of information out there about that already. I mean, you know, you can go to a million websites. Every major bank has a website, and AARP and, you know, lots of organizations have those kinds of tools for you. So we do have some links in some of the workshops about that. But yeah, I'm still thinking about Keith's question there about something you could pair this with. Let me meditate on that. Other thoughts? Any insights from the group conversation about generational differences or other cultural differences that emerged for you? I know on our side we talked a little bit about college debt and how there's a huge generational difference there. The baby boomers, for the most part, didn't experience that, but the Generation X really, and Generation X
and the poor millennials
are our leaders now. So a lot of them are our leaders, and so they have this is a burden and this is some baggage that they carry into their work, in their stewardship work, perhaps.
We talked a lot about how more than one generation have been affected one way or another, not all the same way, by an experience that wasn't highlighted in the generations business, and that is the big word that was missing was depression. The World War II people, the in-betweeners, and so on, and many of the boomers were inculcated with a family austerity orientation.
Absolutely. We talked about that too.
Which other things then have been on top of or in opposition to or whatever, but that was a significant element in the upbringing for a lot of people.
Absolutely, yeah, that's great, absolutely. And we know from family systems that, you know, there are other voices in the room with us. Our grandmother, our mother, our father, you know, those voices that we're carrying with us. And that happens also in our conversations around money. That's great. Anything else? We talked a little bit about, you know, some ethnic, racial differences around money. And, you know, acknowledge that those are some hard conversations. And also people coming in from different faith origin, where there might be practice around tithing, or there might just be, you know, Catholics where you just think that the church is going to take care of everything, you know, that kind of thing. So, any other?
This is cool, Pat. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, any other questions? Or, you know, if you have questions, feel free to contact me. I'm one of the co-authors, so I do have, you know, some experience with the curriculum. I'd be happy to, if you decide to do it, you know, I'd love to hear what you're doing. One of the things I do want to tell you is that this was fast-tracked. Usually curriculum development takes anywhere from 2 to 4 years at the UUA. This was from the time that we had our first developmental meeting in December. It was online published by within 18 months, which is a very fast track. And it was put out while it's still in field test. So it is there, it is available, but it is still being piloted. It's still being piloted in a variety of different congregations. So changes will come about as we get the feedback, and but the tools are there for you to use now, as you wish. So I wish you well. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.